Welcome, 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 friends. We are so excited to be with you all for the Midday Cafe hosted by the Great Lakes chapter of the IEA. Now, there's an asterisk next to our chapter name because we have expanded our membership parameters to anywhere near a lake. So if you are anywhere near a lake, you are able to be a part of our chapter. And also, lake is subjective. So you can fill that tub up if you need to, but we welcome you. We welcome you all here. We are so excited about all of the wonderful opportunities to learn, the wonderful opportunities to deepen our relationship, to grow the bond of our Enneagram community, and regain access to our true selves, leveraging the wisdom of the Enneagram. One of my teachers says you can only go as far, you can only teach others as far as you've gone. And so we are so excited that today Dr. E is going to take us farther than we've ever been before. Before we get into our conversation with Dr. E, I want to share some opportunities for learning and expansion that are happening right within our chapter. So Clare is going to share her screen. Y'all give it up for Clare, Loughrige co-president and the visionary that has leveraged the sustainability of our chapter for as long as it has been in existence. Thank you so much, Clare, for your love, your leadership, and for your amazing co-president energy. So here we are today. We are at our Midday Cafe, and I'm so excited to hear from our esteemed professor of justice in the Enneagram, Dr. E. I want you to take a look at our newsletter, because there's a monthly newsletter that comes from us that has opportunities to get Enneagram certified through IEA accredited teachers and programs. What this means is that when you want to become an accredited professional, you can leverage the hour that you spent learning from other professionals to maintain your status. We love that there is the IEA Global Conference. It's a hybrid event. It's happening in the Bay Area. We want you to check it out. All links will be in the chat by the end of our experience here. Go to the IEA Global Conference. You can either attend virtually if you're not ready to be out there on those streets yet. You can also attend physically in California. And the theme this year is Unite and Ignite. And look at that. We've got our very own Dr. E and also Chiji Ogorum, who wrote the Enneagram for Black Liberation as well. Both ladies are just geniuses as they take their approach to not only the Enneagram, but through the humanity through the lens of the Enneagram. And we've also got some amazing speakers, including my mentee, Dio. I'm so excited that you all are gonna hear her voice. And then as Clare scrolls, look and see, there's some familiar faces, some new faces. And this is probably the most cognitively, culturally, and generationally diverse roster of speakers and teachers I've seen, and I've been a part of the IEA for a long time. Wouldn't you say, Dr. E?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so thrilled.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We've had some of those speakers at our Midday Cafes before, so I'm excited to that the Midday Cafe is kind of the before picture, and then the IEA conference is like the after picture. So I'm excited to be a part of that. Now look through some of the opportunities. Listen, I have been trained by Scott and Clare Loughrige with the Harmony Triads, and I pulled this book up so fast because it sits at my left hand. Okay, I just finished my own certification course, and the Enneagram training and the access to the true self that I was able to gain by attending this training. I use it every single day with every single client, cohort, and organization that I teach. And so highly recommend this. I've also taken the Enneagram Spectrum training with Dr. Jerome Wagner. In addition to it being basically a comedy hour, he takes a deeply psychological and scientific approach to studying and leveraging the Enneagram and integrating it into your work. And so love both of those trainings. The other thing I want you to look at, Clare, will you scroll down just to our YouTube channel real quick? We record every single episode of the Midday Cafe. So if you see something that hear something that you really want to share with someone else, the link to that YouTube channel will be in our chat. You don't have to miss a single episode. They're all going to be there for you to watch as a replay on your own time. And every single episode is just so savory. So I encourage you to binge our channel. I also have some trainings and some coaching cohorts. So if you go to confusiontoclarity.life, you will see that there are some opportunities for you to gain fluency with the Enneagram, learning how to teach it anywhere. I also have a diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility certification program that I would love for you to join. That link will be in the chat as well. And I have some new offerings around how to integrate the Enneagram into the curriculum of whatever professional context you're in. So that'll be up there as well. Thank you so much, Claire. We also have our own Rosemary Horowitz, who does a monthly Enneagram group. We also have a member of our chapter that hosts in Ohio constant trainings. So if you want to learn more about what's happening with our chapter, and if you want to be a part of the chapter, just send us an email. The email to send to will be in the chat as well. I'm so excited about all the opportunities. Oh, Claire, would you talk a little bit about the Spiritual Direction School real quick?
Oh, sure. So our Enneagram training begins the Spiritual Direction School called Crossroads Soul Resources School of Spiritual Direction. And let me just say that Dr. E's book is the required reading this month. And so our spiritual directors are being trained not just to sit in the chair and listen, but then to help all of us rise up and act. And so we're really glad to have Dr. E's book. And with that, I think what I'll do is I will show, I will, if you're all right with this, Danielle, I'll go on to introduce Dr. E. I don't know if you all have been to the website yet. I hope you have, because healing humanity seems to be what my heart aches for. And Dr. E is doing that work. There is this wonderful quote about the beautiful humanity mosaic. I mean, I think all you need are those three words. Breathe them in. Beautiful humanity mosaic. What we realize in our world is that we need people who have the kind of emotional regulation that can guide us in practices that can help us know justice and know peace. So we encourage you to visit Dr. Egerton's website to know how you can learn about IDEA and all of the ways that we can become the kind of love warriors that can change this world. And so, Dr. Egerton, you know, you are a psychologist, you are an author, you are a friend, you are an ally, you are a co-conspirator for trouble in a good way in this world. And I want to say one of the greatest gifts of this book for me is not only the written word, but the narrative approach, the oral tradition, where I feel like you're sitting in my living room when I'm listening to it on Audible. And as I'm, you know, going through my own stories, when my grandson Dante, who is a Black young man's father, was murdered while my daughter was pregnant for him. And I remember the way people treated his death. He was one of 22,000 young Black men in Detroit at that time that were unsolved cases. And the dismissal of his life. And when I read about the other Dr. E, your husband, the physician, an Enneagram 9, and the way he was treated on his jog by law enforcement, I felt the triggering in my body around these things. And yet your voice had the power of emotional regulation, kept me grounded, kept me checking. Your chapter on where we find these traumas in our body and noticing what gets activated when we're listening to the stories of our Black and brown brothers and sisters who have suffered in ways that are beyond my comprehension as a white person who wants to use my privilege to change what the world looks like. But I do feel it in my body, in the cells of my body. And so even your ways to help regulate again, to notice what's happening in my head and in my heart, in my gut, just brilliant psychological and spiritual and somatic experience with this book. So we trust you today to be our teacher and our guide. I guess the last thing I want to say is, in your book, you recommend that we take the Harvard test to find out what even your most open and even, you would say, liberal friends that didn't realize that they have implicit bias. And so I just want to say thank you for challenging me. Thank you for letting me see and be able to offer your book so that my grandsons might have a world that's a bit better. And I just thank you, and I welcome you, and all of us welcome you here to Midday Cafe.
And
Thank you.
real quick, Dr. E, before you launch into your Genius Thought Leadership, the way that we're going to maximize our time today is that when you have questions, please put those questions in the chat. You can either send them directly to me, or you can put them in for everyone. And then I will moderate the questions so that Dr. E will be able to speak with the momentum and intensity that she wants to be able to, and then be able to get to all of our questions. All right, y'all. So keep your mics on mute. Let's utilize the chat feature today and put our questions and comments there. All right.
It's Danielle. Thank you so much, Claire. It's really lovely to be here today. I see so many friends that I have known for a long time, and I also see new friends, and now some people that I don't know that will become friends, which is a wonderful thing. More than bringing up any slides or going to a very didactic form of teaching, I just really want to talk to all of you. I want to have a conversation with you, because this is what it's all about. It's really about us being able to have conversations. It is about us recognizing that each one of us is a puzzle piece. And when we bring ourselves forward and we stand in the space that we were intended to stand in, then actually what happens is that we allow other people to be able to bring their puzzle piece into a place where it fits. The challenge that we are facing is that too many people are passive. Way too many people are passive, particularly about this subject of people being pushed to the margins of society. And that breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I know that not only do I love my children and grandchildren, but I love your children and grandchildren and brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers as well. And we have to all be willing to care enough about each other in order to sort of change the world, to move things in a profoundly positive and uplifting and loving level. It's not going to happen by us sitting back and just burying our heads in the sand and pretending that it'll all work out. I mean, we all have some access to the positive outlook triad, and we can all try to be as positive as we can about life and the world that we're living in. But in reality, if we do nothing, not only do things not get better, they get worse. And for all of us who know the Enneagram, we have been given a very powerful gift. And that gift is active. It's not passive. That gift is alive. The energy of the Enneagram, when integrated and when brought out into the world, has the energy to change the world, and to change the world for good, to stand for something that we would really all want to be engaged with moving forward. When I talk to white-bodied parents now, and I want you to look at the paradox of this, I have quite a few people who are white-bodied parents of teenagers or young adults whose children have come home very angry with them because they weren't taught about racism. And now they're making friends with people who come from different ethnic backgrounds and different cultures. And they're seeing all of the things that are starting to show up in our homes, on our television screens, on our computers, on our phones. And these young people are saying to their parents, "What did you do? Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't prepared. I didn't know that if I went to a place with my Black friend or my Asian friend or my friend, sometimes based on gender and sexual diversity, that we were going to have a hard time getting through the door or being treated differently once we got through the door." We can do so much better than that. It's a kind space that we want to evolve to. And when I say a kind space, there's a lot of talk about brave spaces and courageous spaces. And yes, let's get our brave on and let's get our courage up. But with that brave space and that courage that we build within ourselves at each point of the Enneagram, there has to be a very strong element of kindness in it. In other words, if you have to fight for someone that you care about, or you may not even know the person, but you want to stand as an ally and an advocate in that space, before you pull the arrow out of the quiver, you've got to steep the tip of it in love. Because it's the only way that when the arrow lands, that it makes an impact to change what is happening with someone on the inside in a good way. With the Enneagram, we learn about our 3 centers of intelligence, and God knows on any given day, one of those centers may be offline. But when we are doing the work of trying to be allies and advocates and recognizing that there is no place where I end and you begin because we are all connected, we have to absolutely remain in presence. There's a quote on my website: "Presence is not a privilege, it's a necessity." And it is a necessity in the world that we're living in today. The words "not on my watch" need to mean something to all of us who know the Enneagram. because we have learned about what's going on, what's happening in the background. We've learned about our egoic agendas. We've learned about our passions, our fixations, and our virtues. But we want to be able to stand in the virtue of each point and to be able to take our space to allow the virtue to transform what is happening in the world. If we remain asleep, who wins? And it really should not have to be about who wins and who loses. But when we're talking about winning and losing means life or death, not just a trophy. Winning or losing means starvation and poverty, no education, no access to opportunity. This is what winning or losing looks like now. So it goes so far beyond winning a trophy or getting a title or a banner. We're talking about winning or losing as it pertains to thriving and surviving. So this is where we are. And like I said, a long time ago, I recognized that I was not just an Enneagram advocate, I'm an Enneagram activist. I'm an Enneagram activist because that's what the world needs right now. For all of us to wake up, to integrate all of this wisdom of the Enneagram that we've been given, and to step into our space that was uniquely crafted for each one of us and bring into that space what we have to give. In the book, No Justice, No Peace, I go through all 9 types and I talk about the ways that we can actually begin to activate and show up as allies and advocates. I'm not going to make it that easy for you today because I want you to read the book. So I'm not going to give you the cheat sheet, but I am going to tell you this. Every single point on the Enneagram contains a superpower. And we have to move away from this thinking that we are just this one type. If you're studying the Enneagram in a way where you believe that you are just one type, then you have just moved into a little box and you're probably spending a lot of time decorating it, putting up the curtains, making some pretty pictures on the walls, and you are keeping yourself in a box. And by doing that, you are depriving not only yourself, but the rest of the world the ability that was given to you to be able to make powerful transformation happen in the world. The Enneagram is not stagnant, it is fluid. We can run around the Enneagram and on any given day, we can, in presence and with the alignment of our centers, embody the energy of a point. I have embodied the energy at point 8 more times than I can count. Why? Because I had to. Why? Because I had gone into a corporation where what was sitting out in front of me was a group of 100 white men who really didn't even understand why they had let me through the door. But my job was to, on that particular day, talk to them about what I call a new idea: inclusion, diversity, equity, and anti-racism. And I stood my ground, and I can do that. And I can take as good as I get. Why? Because I know what 8 energy feels like. I know what it feels like when it's coming at me, and I know what it feels like when I need to embody it. And this is something that we don't do enough of, understanding how to meet an energy, but to meet it with love. Meeting energy from a healthy space, from a healthy level of development, will allow you to do things that you would not have thought you were capable of. It will allow you to come online with your intuitive wisdom of the body, feeling that in your gut, allowing your heart, the wisdom of your heart, to know what to say and how to say it. And then your head will formulate the words and they will come out your mouth. But like I say all the time, be mindful of letting anything come out of your mouth before you filtered it through your heart. Because even if what you have to say is tough, there's still a loving way to say it. There is still a loving way to say it. I have spoken with people who really believe that we need to be separate and apart from one another, that really believe that that's the only way that this world can evolve, is that people of color need to go their way, white-bodied people need to go their way. Well, I have some very sad news for people who think that way. The next generation isn't having it. They're not having it. They're not buying that. And for all of us who are still guiding the generations to come with the wisdom of the Enneagram in place, we can guide the trajectory of where we're going in the future in a way where we come together. Now, I want you to hear this and to really let it land. For so long, I have listened to people say that when it comes to things like slavery, Black people need to just get over it. It was all those years ago. If you're white-bodied, you don't have slaves now, and you didn't have anything to do with slavery. But we know now, based on somatic experiences, that everything lives in the body. And we know now that these things get carried forward. It doesn't just die. We pass on really our historical experiences. And because of that, when I talk about what is happening to people who are marginalized, who I call love warriors, and I'm going to take some time to talk about how important language is. When we are talking about love warriors, instead of talking about people as minorities, which is insulting in and of itself, love warriors have experienced a level of trauma that lives in the body, and that there's not anything that can be done to release it unless you become aware of it. And then you can do the work to release the trauma that goes all the way back beyond slavery. But think about this. How is it possible to have in your lineage people who were part of the oppression, people who were part of actually oppressing and enslaving groups of people, and for that not to also live somewhere in your body. My point being that it doesn't just hurt the people who are the target of the painful experiences, it also erodes the core of the character of the human beings who were on the side of the oppression. The oppressors suffer and we suffer. And we have to work together to stop the suffering. We have to work together to recognize that we want everyone to be able to move forward in a fair, just, and kind world. Not a world that's out of balance, not a world where anyone starves or anyone cannot get a job or anyone cannot get a good education or health care. We all have to work together in order to create a better world. I always say, it is not my intention, God willing, that I close my eyes for good before something has been done to leave this world in a better state than the world I was born into. And each and every one of us can be participatory in that way. So let's talk about what your superpowers are. We go around the Enneagram and we look at point 8. And I love looking at point 8 because I have to go there on the regular. And standing at point 8, when I look at the passion and the fixation of point 8, and I work my way through, and I want to say this to everyone, that passion is a wake-up call. A lot of people have started calling it the blind spot. Whatever language works is fine, but understand that in the traditional language of the passion, it is your wake-up call. When you are feeling the passion of your type, rather than get locked down in the fixation, recognize this is my call to wake up. As a person who stands at point 1, and I say point now a lot more than I do type when I'm teaching, because point allows people the freedom more to move rather than getting locked down with the word type. So if I'm standing at my home point of 1, the passion for me, of course, is anger. Now I have a choice. When I'm feeling and facing that particular, sort of experience, and I've learned what that experience looks like for me, I absolutely have to pay attention to, why am I angry? What is this anger all about? And that, in that moment, is when I have to get present, bring my 3 centers online. And this is when my heart really helps me out, because usually the anger is about something that is rising up from my belly, but it's breaking my heart. And I get still. And I recognize that my next steps are crucial to the outcome of what is going to happen. If I get trapped in resentment, if I get trapped in the frustration, then my next steps are not going to serve me nor humanity in any way, shape, or form. You're just going to have an angry Black woman on your hands. And I'm telling you, when this Black woman gets angry, it's not pretty. Because at point one, the words that can come from me are like poison darts that go right for the heart. Because at this point, I'm going to tell you that you had no right to treat that child that way. Who do you think you are? Why in the world would you go to that place with that child? But when I get present and I recognize I don't know the whole story, I have no line of sight to what is going on in this situation, but it's breaking my heart. What's rising up in my belly is the fire. What's happening to my heart is it is breaking, and it's making me angry. And if I'm going to intercede as an ally, I'm going to approach that person who appears to be harming that child in an unnecessary way. And I'm going to say, I know this is not really my business, but I'm just wondering if there's anything that I can do in this moment to be helpful. Is there something that can I just sit with your child for a while and let you have a break and let you calm down? I know this is a stressful situation for both of you. And really, it's breaking my heart to see this. And I watch what happens as a result of entering without the judgment, without the resentment, without the anger, but entering the space, bringing whatever I can bring to heal it. To heal it. So the superpower for me is that when my anger gets out of control and I can clear all of the stuff that is going through my little voice, which is particularly ignorant but has no shortage of ideas, talking to me constantly, when I can just calm down the inner critic and speak to someone in a situation that it's completely foreign to me, I can bring and be a calming presence that maybe gives that person an opportunity to just slow it down for a minute and to give them an opportunity to mirror my breathing. It's these little tiny moments that make such a difference in terms of allowing yourself to be a part of the solution. That could have been a white woman and a Black child. That could have been an Asian woman and a white child. It doesn't matter who it was. What matters is that you saw something happening across differences, and it could have just been a mother and a child that obviously were mother and child. But when you see these things that are happening, being able to use the Enneagram by getting yourself in order and then being able to speak and practicing doing that, practicing the fourth way of being in the world and making a difference. And not just walking by every situation that we see and feeling like, it's not my business. There's actually a way to make it the business of kindness, the business of caring, the business of hopefully interacting with someone for just a moment that might shift their way of being in the world. Every single one of us has a superpower. Ones have the superpower of not seeing everything as broken, but seeing that some things are perfectly imperfect and being able to be okay with that. Therefore, being kinder and gentler, even when dealing with tough situations. Twos have the superpower of healing and loving, but doing it with a humility and a grace that is not self-serving or about giving to get, but is just simply to heal and to help and to step into that situation well-resourced. And that's important for everyone to hear. Stepping into situations well-resourced, meaning you love yourself enough to be able to enter any circumstance with the humility of self-fullness, not selfishness or selflessness, but self-fullness. You are already filled up with enough love that you can be love in the world and be love in a powerful and humble way. Threes have the superpower of being able to enter into the world, not seeking anything in the way of glory, not seeking anything in the way of self-promotion, but of bringing others into the mix and sharing that resourceful, intelligent, dynamic nature that is at point 3, empowering others to have that same gift, because that's a gift that can very easily be shared if you're willing to share it. Sometimes at point 3, when it's all about me, I'm not so willing to share. But at point 3, good Lord, if we had more people sitting in positions of power at point 3 that had the humility and who had the willingness to move others into the space of, let me show you how this can be accomplished, the world would look very different than it does today. Very different. Self-full, but serving, giving the service and helping others to move forward. At point 4, no, I always give Russ Hudson credit for this quote. At point 4, you hold the beauty of the world. The holders of the beauty of the world at point 4. Being able to actually bear the pain and the suffering of the world and to hold that space in order to create something that the rest of us can take a little bit of a respite by having an experience of the beauty, having an experience of the sounds, the sights, the creativity that comes to us from point 4. But also at point 4, my God, the empathy, not the sympathy, but the empathy. I cannot name in the period of time that we have the number of people who stand at point 4 who have just stood by me through these battles, not trying to fix me or make me feel better, just being there, understanding this is hard, this is tough, she's got to be hurting, but they're just there. Just a presence, a calming and loving presence, which is a superpower at point 4. The rest of us want to fix you or make you feel better or feed you or do something with you, shake you out of that sad space. Point 4 is like, no, it's okay. You're in a funky place. I'm gonna stay right here with you. Be here. You need something, let me know. I'm not going to try to fix it. No, we don't have to go to tea or lunch or anything. I'm just hanging with you. And it feels so good. And if you don't want to talk, that's good too, which at times you don't when you're struggling. When I look at the superpower at point 5, there's not another type on the Enneagram that has the mind of a 5, that can see how the connections fit, that understand how we start, way back and we're here now, and the trajectory is going in this direction. And this is the way we need to piece it together. But the superpower at point 5 is being able to generously put forward the energy and the effort to be a part of creating something that is needed in order for us to heal. Everything that we are doing in this time period is about healing humanity. And our superpowers need to be put to work, need to be activated in the cause of healing humanity and bringing us all back together. We're already connected. We just need to understand that we need to remember, respect, and enjoy the connection. The superpower at point 6, I've always said, if there's ever a natural disaster, I want to know where all my point 6 friends live, because I'm not prepared for any of that. It's not my superpower, but it is theirs. And I know they've got everything they need, and they're going to be able to navigate the right evacuation route out of the city if needed. But the real superpower is the steadfast ability to stand and stay through the storm, no matter what. I've always said that at point 6, you have the last individual standing, no matter what goes down. This is the person whose loyalty and love and light will continue to shine. And when you look around for an ally, it's amazing when you see how someone who stands at point 6 is not going to leave you. They're going to be with you in it to the very end. And that is a phenomenal superpower, and one that is so needed in these struggles to heal humanity and to bring people together. And the superpower at point 7. I think sometimes 7s get cut a little bit short because everyone is expecting 7s to just be light and airy and fun. And that's lovely. We like light and airy and fun. And sometimes when we're doing this tough work, it's great to have someone around who can make you laugh and who can actually change the energy, change the dynamic of the funk into something that is more positive and pleasant to breathe, the air of something that doesn't feel so heavy. But it is also at point 7 where the possibilities, 7s, you give us hope that things can change and will change. And not only that, but the innovative nature, the innovative mind at point 7 it actually allows all of us to see that something else is truly possible. And just maybe we need to adjust the goal, change the approach. And that in and of itself, when you're bogged down in trying to figure out, why is this world so racist? Why is this world so sexist? Why is this world so greedy? Why is this world so selfish? At point 7, there's some fresh air that comes in. There's a different lens that we can adjust and look at the world in a different way in terms of what's possible. To be able to see through the fog that sometimes the rest of us get caught up in. At point 8, the superpower is always, always, always just being able to not only charge any hill, and not always just to be able to be large and in charge, but it is the vulnerability and the tenderness of the big-heartedness at point 8. Because when people who stand at point 8 allow themselves the true luxury of being tender-hearted, then there is a desire to take in the whole world and heal it, and with strength, with great strength. I can never get past point 8 without invoking the name and the spirit of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who stood at point 8 and who had to die, not because he was trying to fight for the rights of Black people, of people of color, but because his next move was to fight for the rights of all poor people. His next organized action was the Poor People's March. And because of that, he had to die. If all of the poor people, no matter what body you were in, came together, we might be in a very, very, very different place today. Very different place. And finally, at point 9, where we see that sitting right up there at the top, people who stand at point 9 really do believe, why can't we all just get along? It's just not that hard, people. But the gift and the superpower at point 9 is that beautiful, spacious capacity of the synthesizing mind that hears what everyone has to say, but can distill it down to its pure nature and bring it back and bring us all back to a place of reason, of logic, and of love, where no one's thoughts are being left out. You see, the other 8 types, we enter with an agenda. We will enter with the agenda of something that we want to have happen. At point 9, people enter with the agenda of bringing peace to the troubled land. And so it's not a personal agenda, it's how do I bring everyone together? What a beautiful superpower to have, to be able to do the work of social justice. So that's my little walk around the Enneagram. And if any of you didn't know you had those superpowers, just let me know. Lisi will design an outfit for you that you can, just let us know if you want a cape or if you want wings or, some kind of special helmet, but take that superpower out into the world. And remember, little things matter. Little situations that you encounter, small actions that lead to bigger actions. It all matters. And if we all begin with the small actions of loving kindness that help us to heal across differences, we create a much bigger sort of tsunami of love that goes out into the world.
Dr. E,
Yes.
we have a quick question here because we're almost to the top of the hour. Kate Mosley, who's the IEA director, asked, could you say again and say more about how activism looks different, functions differently through the Enneagram in the 21st century?
Activism looks different and functions differently now because remember, those of us who study the Enneagram have learned some things. We've learned how to do inner work. Now, we may have learned how to do inner work, but whether or not we're doing inner work, that's two different things. If you are not doing your inner work, then you will not have the energy to sustain the effort of activism. Activism begins with you, and it doesn't begin with what I call flurries of activity. It actually begins with, with you getting grounded and present, and then recognizing when your three centers of intelligence are online. If you're going from your gut to your head and your heart's offline, not so great. If you're just you're being a talking head and you're walking around, you're preaching to everyone, you're not reaching anyone. If you're just a bleeding heart, you're going to get caught in the overwhelm of how horrible things are. And if you're just in your gut, you're mad all the time. So activism, 21st century, 2023, do your work. Learn what it feels like when your three centers are aligned. Slow it down. Multitasking is overrated, highly overrated. If you want to actually make a difference in this world, in any situation that you encounter, where you recognize that your skills as an activist should be coming forward in this moment, slow down, get present, check to see that you're in your body, make sure that your three centers are online, and then the wisdom will come. You'll surprise yourself. But the difference between it now and in years that have gone by was that we didn't know to do that. People went out into activism angry. People went out into activism brokenhearted and overwhelmed. People went out into activism with a lot of ideas that were not implementable. Now we know that there is a way to bring it into the whole of who we are so that we can sustain the effort. I hope that answers your question, Kate.
So we are at the top of the hour, and I have just been savoring your teachings, Dr. E. Thank you so much. I wanted to tell the group what I shared with you earlier, which is that my friend owns a bookstore, and she bought me this book and carries this book. And what she wrote in the card was, I know you love the Enneagram and justice, so I got this for you. So if you love the Enneagram and if you love justice, I would highly, highly invite you to not just listen to Dr. E's words, either via the audiobook or take them in, soak them in via reading. Find paths of incremental integration in your life and watch your life expand as a return on the investment of your energy and attention. watch your relationships deepen, watch your connection to yourself and your return to your own memory of wholeness broaden as you gain access to your part in this fight for justice, dignity, and humanity for everybody. Claire, do you have any final words as we conclude our midday cafe today, other than gratitude for Dr. E?
Well, gratitude is, yeah, that's right. That's probably the 40,000 foot view. Really grateful for you to name things like anger and brokenheartedness and overwhelm and, too many ideas. So if we're stuck on our point and we're not able to access all that's available to us, we're not going to make it. To do the work of justice with joy for the long haul. This is intentional work. The incremental word, Danielle, nailed it, because I found myself, as I was listening to the book on Audible, I had to walk and I was moving the trauma through my body as I was imagining your husband on the ground in the chapter on chapter 9. I wanted to experience it. I don't want to just read these words as if it's a textbook. I want to take in the words deeply, and so that, as you said, I care about your grandchildren and your neighbors, that this really becomes a very 9-ish experience, that we say all of the points. I love Dr. Wagner's words, all the styles. If we are seeing through all 9 lenses in all the ways we can by having these kinds of conversations and practicing this kind of challenging and wonderful reading so that we can do our inner work, there really is hope. I do have hope, because I do sense that your arrow is dipped in love. I do sense that. I do sense that you slow it down when it could be a moment, as you said, even as you were reading the stories of your own life and choosing what you were going to write about, that you too were triggered, right? You're going right back to that trauma. So your willingness to go there for us so that we might have the courage to go there is loving work, is loving kindness, and as well as brave and courageous. So all three centers, all 3 points online with you, Dr. E. Thank you for being a love warrior. Thank you for being an Enneagram activist. That's the best. An Enneagram activist. If we're just learning this to fill our own toolbox, to be smarter, rather than to be people who show up fully in the world wholeheartedly with our whole mind and our whole strength, we're missing the point. So maybe we'll come back and listen over and over and over again. It'll be on YouTube. And then if you can, come to San Francisco and hear Dr. E be the keynote. All the links are here. And so together, let's just take a breath and feel what it's like to be you right now after this conversation. Notice where you're holding this conversation in your body. And take a 3-centered breathing approach where even whether from top to bottom or bottom to top, you're allowing your breath to give you some space. So that now you might even imagine or plan who you might like to talk to about what you've heard today. a safe friend, your therapist, your spiritual director or coach. And make a plan to have a further conversation. And then all together, if you can return to the screen and just offer Dr. E some love right back from what you've been given. And Danielle, if we were going to sing the end of this, would it be something like, Amen,
Hey.
Amen, 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 Amen.
Go do your work. Hey.
Every day now.
Dr. E, please check out the chat. There are so many people entering in words of gratitude, and it's just rolling in. So I don't want you to miss that before you log out. And we are just so grateful for you all. And thank you for taking the time to spend with us and to grow and expand in that incremental way that when we look around, everything is different, including our world. Thank y'all so much.
Yes.
Mm.
Remember, love yourself first.
Mm.
Flight attendant says, put that oxygen mask on yourself first. And then any small children or people who are acting like children traveling with you. So fill yourself up with love, and the work that you do out in the world to heal humanity will be loving work, because that's the only way we heal. Okay?
Mm. Oh,
you.
Dr. E, one last thing from a 4 who's standing with you. She said, I lived in Hartford County and remember the incident with your husband. Thank you for
Oh.
turning your anger and healing and bringing us along for the journey.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. Yeah, that was a hard one. But anything that we experience in life is an opportunity not only to do some healing ourselves, but to bring it back out into the world to help to make the world better and to learn something from it. So I thank you for that. And I hope to see you all at the IEA conference.
Yes, ma'am.
Take
We'll
care.
see y'all soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. Love
Thank
you
you,
all.
Claire.
Love the people.
So Claire, I'm gonna see if Marissa can send out a couple of different dates for us to reconnect.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
All right.
Good. Okay.